This interview is a challenge. The topic is pornography, and the guest is on a campaign to expose the effect it's having on all of us, and we'll do our best not to cross any lines with our conversation. The book is Pornland, How Porn Has Hijacked Our Sexuality. And the guest is Dr. Gail, professor of sociology and women's studies at Wheelock College. Dr. Dines, thanks for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
First of all, just quickly, how big is the porn industry?
Well, nobody actually knows, but they're looking at $97 billion worldwide. It's a huge industry. It releases 13,000 films a year, new films a year to the market. And if you just look around on the internet, they reckon 1 in 3 pages on the internet has some pornographic content. So we're talking about a massive industry.
Well, how much is public and how much of it is underground?
I would say today very little of it is underground. I would say most of it is on the internet. It's considered legal, it's public, you can access it by just typing porn into Google, and there up it comes 24/7.
And what share of the audience is male, and how significant is the female?
They don't, again, statistics are very hard to come by. I mean, if you read the porn press, you get the sense that most of the audience is male, the vast majority. And certainly for the hardcore pornography I'm talking about, called gonzo by the industry, the vast majority of the actual audience is male. That's the pornography that men use when they're alone, is the hardcore, brutal, body-punishing pornography.
It's both heartbreaking, and I don't even have a word to describe it when you read about some of the things that you witnessed, the people you've talked to, the women who are trapped in this lifestyle, many of them. It's just unbelievable.
Well, I know. What's interesting is many people say to me, why are you so upset by pictures of women, you know, naked women in a cornfield? Because that's the image they've got of Playboy like 10, 15 years ago. What they don't really understand is what this industry looks like today. How many of the women are in it because of poverty, they're in it because of drug abuse, they're in it because of pimps. You know, we like to think these women happen to find their calling. They wandered onto a porn set one day and said, oh, I'd love to do this. That's not how pornography works. It's very complex why women get in. It's even more complex why they stay. And to be honest with you, the sex is so body punishing now that they can't stay for very long because their bodies simply cannot tolerate.
Well, you got to my next question. I mean, from what you describe, it's just devastating, not only physically and not only psychologically, but physically as well.
Well, yes, and because this is probably a family show, I can't go into what actually happens to the women's bodies. But I mean, yes, so they get all sorts of STDs, they get chlamydia of the eye, of the anus, of the throat. I mean, they suffer from STDs that you never hear groups of women suffering from, except prostitutes. So this is a group of women who have been cordoned off, and we have said to them, you know what? This is okay for you. It's not okay for the rest of us, but it's okay for you. And what we're saying is it's not okay for anybody, any woman in this world to have to basically tolerate what is tolerated in pornography.
And the age for the first viewing of pornography just opened my eyes.
11. They're saying that studies are showing about 11 years old. Now, again, remember that when they're viewing pornography, they're not looking at their father's Playboy. This is not your father's Playboy. They're looking at the hardcore stuff. And the question is, what effect is this going to have on boys who are just developing their sexuality? They don't even own their sexuality yet. They don't even know what it's going to look like, and the first thing they see is hardcore pornography. This is going to have a profound effect on their sexual identity.
Has any country ever succeeded in putting some restrictions or limitations on this kind of thing?
Well, in England, they've got a law which says that if you download extreme pornography, you can spend time in prison. Now, that law has not been actually enacted as far as I know at this moment. It's very, very hard to try and deal with this because the internet is now international, and there's not often many lawyers who are familiar enough with the industry to know what to do about it. And I would say that the real answer to this is a massive education campaign. What we need to do is alert the public to the harms of pornography. We need to look at it as a public health issue. We need to educate the men. We need to educate women. And we have to make it like we did on smoking and like we did on drinking and driving. We need to say, you know, this is not cool to use pornography. It doesn't help you. It's not healthy for you. It's not good for women, and it's not good for men or the culture.
Now, you're a teacher on a largely female campus. What's the reaction from students who are familiar with your views in what harm porn causes?
You know, I mean, I lecture also across the country, and what I find from students both on my campus and across the country is they're very grateful to hear a critique of pornography. Because remember, a lot of them date men who use pornography, and men are trying to play out porn sex on these women's bodies. And so what happens is they don't know how to say no, why they don't like it, they don't know what's going on in their relationship. So I can give them some consciousness as to A, why their boyfriends want to do this, and B, why it's okay to say no.
What about backlash? People who say you're motivated by money, money, that you hate sex, you like to victimize women to support your supposed ideology, anti-male ideology.
Yeah, well, that's ridiculous. First of all, the anti-sex position. That's something that always gets thrown at people who are anti-pornography. And what I say in my book, which is very important, is I'm not anti-sex. I'm anti the commodification and corporatization of sex. Pornography is not the same as sex. Pornography is an industry. Just as we could be against the fast food industry for obesity and for labour practices, you wouldn't call anybody who against the industry anti-food or anti-eating. Just the same with pornography. We're not anti-sex. We're anti the commodification and corporatization of sex.
It's just incredible that this goes on. I just wanted to get your quick reaction to the federal judge who struck down the FCC's fines yesterday for so-called fleeting obscenity.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, in a porn culture, that's not one of the worst things that's floating around. I mean, the worst thing is the hypersexualization of the female body, which it seems nobody really wants to talk about. And also, we're so used to seeing these images on MTV. So I think we need to broaden the discussion about what is acceptable on television and do we want to keep presenting women as sex objects.
Dr. Gail Dines, the book is called Pornland, How Porn Has Hijacked Our Sexuality. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.